Assalamu alaikum. Y'all been, man? Appreciate it, man. Assalamu alaikum. I'm out here sitting outside the crib, man, enjoying this sunlight. Enjoying this solar energy outside the crib, you feel me? I don't know, man. I ain't talked to J Dean in a minute. But like I said, I'm out here getting this sunlight on this nice winter day. It's still winter time, but in Atlanta, it's feeling nice out here. But that's gonna tie into what I'm gonna speak about today. How y'all doing though, man? I ain't been on live in a minute. But today, I want to speak about the soul. You know, you hear these words thrown around like spirit and soul, but nobody really says what the soul is. You feel what I'm saying? Have you ever heard anybody tell you what a soul is? If we have a soul, what is it? They got a lizard out here, look. Look at that little lizard. We don't see that in Jersey, man. I don't know what kind of lizard is that though, but that's dope, man. I'm out here visiting my neighbors. But yeah, I want to talk about the soul today, man. All my brothers and sisters. And I want to read something called W. Dean Muhammad, Leap of Faith. That's what I want to read today. W. Dean Muhammad, Leap of Faith. And then based off of what I read, I just want to give you my take on the article. So, like I said, it's called W. Dean Muhammad, A Leap of Faith by Don Terry, Tribune staff reporter. This is from the Chicago Tribune, and it was written October 20th, 2002. A few hours after the Messenger of Allah died, scores of his ministers hurried to his domed mosque on Stony Island Avenue to learn the fate of their nation. The future was waiting in the basement. The ministers filed down the stairs, hearts heavy, souls shaken, up until Elijah Muhammad's last breath at 8:10 a.m. on February 25th, 1975. Many believed the messenger would live forever. They could not imagine he would leave them behind in the wilderness of North America to face the blue-eyed devil alone. Like I said, I'm reading, for those coming on right now, I'm reading Chicago Tribune, an article written by the Chicago Tribune, published in the Chicago Tribune in 2002. For more than 40 years, he had lifted them from the gutter, plucked them out of the fire, resurrected them from the mentally dead. He did it using a theology of love and hate. I disagree with that. It wasn't hate. Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't teach hate. Not one speech you can give me. There's not one speech you can give me where he said anything about hating people, but I'm reading the article, right? Love and hate. Sincerity and science fiction. It wasn't science fiction, it was science, but I'm going to keep going. The white man was the devil, the black man a human god. He preached a separatist gospel of self-reliance, and he turned thousands of his brothers and sisters, the so-called Negroes, a phrase that he used with disdain, into proud black men and women. They thought he was divine. He didn't argue. Now that he was dead of heart failure at age 77, what would become of his people, their nation of Islam, gathered in the depths of the mosque on the south side of Chicago? They soon learned the answer. The messenger's 41-year-old son, his successor, held up a holy Quran. Walaikum assalam. This was a quote from Wharf Dean Muhammad, Honorable Elijah Muhammad's son. We have to take this down from the shelf, declared Wallace D. Muhammad, staring into 200 somber faces. We say we are Muslims. What my father taught in this book, we will keep. What is not in this book, we have to give up. So much had to go. There will be no more lessons about white devils or hovering spaceships ready to destroy America for its racial sins. There will be more prohibitions against going to the movies. There will be no more prohibitions against going to the movies or demands for a separate black nation in the American South. It was nothing less than a religious reformation that Wallace Muhammad began that bitter winter 27 years ago. So now that's 27 plus 18. It is 2020. He and his followers took the first steps in a mass march of tens of thousands of African Americans away from the cult-like margins of a fierce faith to the mainstream of one of the world's great religions. Wallace Muhammad later started using the name Wharf Dean Muhammad as he and his community waded deeper into Islam. To Muhammad, his father's nation had been more concerned with property than prayers. It was more social movement than religion, more small business incubator than house of worship. My father was a great social reformer. This is a quote from Wharf D. Muhammad, and I'm going to end at this. My father was a great social reformer, Muhammad now says. But when I came in, all I cared about was the soul. Now, for those who is coming in late again, this is what I just read is an article from the Chicago Tribune, written in 2002. And like I said, we throwing around this word soul a lot, and I feel like our leaders don't tell us what the soul is. Now, from my studying, from what I've studied from books, what I've learned from my teacher, Dr. Ali Muhammad, what I've learned being a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, what I've learned from my Imam Benjamin Bilal, what I've learned from Dr. Africa. We got a lot of great teachers out there. You understand what I'm saying? And everything I've learned outside of these great teachers has helped me to come to my conclusion of what the soul really is. That's what I'm talking about today. What is the soul? So if you look at the word soul, how you spell it? S-O-U-L. The vowels are interchangeable. You know what I'm saying? So you can take out the U and still read it, and it's still S-O-L, soul. What does that tell you? The soul has something to do with the sun, right? It has something to do with solar energy. When you have solar panels on the top of your roof, how are you bringing energy into your house? From the sun, right? So one misconception we have, and I'll tell you this is my claim, because I have never heard anybody, I've heard people say things similar, but nothing of how I'm about to say it. Your soul is not inside you. Your soul is outside of you. Right? Now, what do I mean by that? The energy that you receive from the sun. Well, first of all, let me go into this. When we learn about plants, right? What do plants go through? Indigenous plants. They go through photosynthesis, right? When the sunlight hits the plant has melanin in it. It has plant melanin called chlorophyll. I learned this from Dr. Wesley Muhammad, another great teacher, right? But we also learn in a science class about plants, and they go through photosynthesis because they're able to convert sunlight into energy, right? So his statement that he made is that human beings, and particularly black human beings or anybody with hue, melanin, go through photosynthesis just like plants do, right? So we can convert sunlight into energy. So when that sunlight hits your skin, when it enters your body and your body absorbs it, your melanin is able to create energy from it. Human beings, we can do this, right? And your body then does what? It creates an energy field. So your soul is your electromagnetic field that is around you. It's not inside of you. It's outside of you. So what does it have to do with this article I was reading? So Warfdeen Muhammad, I told you, I was born into the Warfdeen Muhammad community. Sunni, it's considered Sunni Islam, you know. And one thing Warfdeen Muhammad said, which I already read to you, was a quote that he made. My father was a great social reformer. But when I came in, all I cared about was the soul. So I say all that to say that the soul is material. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not material. And it's affected by material things. You understand what I'm saying? Take this.
I'm be out here with their computers when I try to come in here and get it.
Here, I already read it. That's my wife.
I have something in my hand.
Well, don't take it.
What you doing?
Let's get back to what I'm saying.
Your boy?
Yeah, you're disturbing me. Let's get back to what I'm saying. You said we need proof. The proof is science. I'm giving you the proof. According to many teachers, plants go through photosynthesis. The Quran does not teach you, or the Hadith, it doesn't teach you what exactly your soul is. So we have to go outside of the books into science to understand what the soul is. So like I said, the soul is outside of you. It's not inside of you. It's your electromagnetic field. So, back to what I was saying. The soul is material. Just like anything else. Everything in this universe is material. Just because you can't see it does not make it not material. You are made up of how many atoms? The atoms that make up your body, you can't see the atoms, but they're still real. They're just as much material as your hair. They're just so small that you can't see it. So everything in this universe is material. So to say that, somebody is only material and you want to worry about the soul is material. You have to have a balance. You can't work on what we call material things, your physical body, and not work on your soul. They come hand in hand. Or you can't just work on your so-called soul and not work on your body and quote unquote what we're calling material. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to have a balance between both. What we do in this world, in this material world, affects our soul, because our soul is material. Period. So, therefore, Warfdeen Muhammad, there is reported that he sold millions of dollars of assets and properties because of tax debts and probate court hearings. You understand what I'm saying? So, and he said that his father was too material and he cared about the soul. But you can't divorce. One is not independent of the other. You understand what I'm saying? If you are a parasite, right? Let's talk about how you're supposed to feed the soul. How do you feed your soul? It's not just about praying all day and reciting the Quran. It's much more than that. You feed your soul, you cultivate your soul through material means. They're not independent from each other. So you cannot be a parasite. Parasites don't have souls. What do I mean by that? If we don't have properties, if we don't have businesses, if we can't supply our own needs, and we have to be dependent on someone else outside of who we are to supply our everyday needs, then we cannot create enough energy to even feed our souls, because we're parasites. Parasites, when you look them up, they don't have energy. They have to latch on to a host to get all of their energy and their food. Parasites don't create their own energy. So if us as human beings, and particularly I'm talking about black people, right? Because it was our properties that was our economic program that was put into place by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and it was destroyed. Same thing integration did to us. It destroyed our businesses. So if we cannot be independent, then we cannot feed our souls. If we don't have our own businesses, if we can't feed ourselves and we have to go to another group of people to feed ourselves, then we're not cultivating our souls. If we have to go to another group of people to educate ourselves, then we're not cultivating our souls. If we have to go to another group of people for the regular necessities of life, like buying clothes, the food that we eat, our education, all of these different necessities that all human beings need, self-government. If we cannot become independent and support ourselves, if we can't do for self, then we can't cultivate the soul. So why would you sell all of our properties off so we go back to being what we were before the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came? We were dependent. We were dependent on Europeans, right? He made us self-reliant. He made us independent. And when War of the Muhammad took over and the economic aspect of the movement fell, we became back parasites, dependent on everybody else but ourselves. We have to go beg another group of people for a job. We can't even create our own jobs. So you can't cultivate your soul like that. No human being can. You know what I'm saying? If you do not eat to live, if you don't have the simple science of how to eat, bro, then you're not feeding your soul. We have a lot of soulless people walking around today because to feed your soul, you have to have energy. You understand what I'm saying? You have to be solar powered. You have to have solar energy to feed your soul. So you have to be eating the correct foods that have that same energy within it to power you. So under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we had all these things. We had an economic base, an economic structure from which we could do for self. And we had the simple science, or at least we were gaining the science of how to eat. You know what I'm saying? All of us right now, we're eating synthetic foods all across, especially in America. We're eating synthetic foods that is not giving us any energy. It's just killing us. If you're killing yourself through your food, then you're not cultivating your soul. You understand what I'm saying? I was watching something on YouTube, and it was about basically American Muslim. The only American Muslim food is the bean pie. That's a shame. You understand what I'm saying? It was a video basically about black Muslims in America and the bean pie and how it was created under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Well, guess what? The only way there are a creative people, the only way that you are able to invent things, you have to be operating at a high level. You have to be operating at an independent level. Since the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has died, what cultural phenomenon, like a bean pie, and it is a cultural phenomenon. It's part of our cultural identity as black Muslims in America. The bean pie, which is still sold to this day, still delicious to this day. When we invented that pie, which still is here today, it was under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Because we were operating as Allah wants us to operate, an independent, independent, productive people are the only people that can invent things. And since then, we have not invented anything. We have become parasites again.